All right, so here's exactly how you can use AI and meta ads to book hundreds of qualified calls for your AI or marketing agency within basically 30 days. And I promise you, if you watch this entire video in full, you will never need to hire another appointment setting agency ever again. But before we get started, you do obviously need to have an irresistible offer and a niche identified. If you don't have those two in place, check out my previous video on how to build an offer and then come back to this video once you're ready to start filling your calendar with calls. So the first thing that you need to know of is what type of funnel do you need to build to get calls. And in my 6.5 years of running ads and spending an obscene amount of money, I think there are really only two funnels that you need to get you past 50 to 100K per month. The first being a standard VSL based funnel. And this is fairly straightforward. You have your ad, and then you have a landing page, usually with a headline, a video, and just a call to action where they can book a time in your calendar. You then have a calendar page where they can just schedule in a meeting. Then you have a thank you page. Now, when you run a VSL funnel, you're obviously going to be optimizing for a book call. So you want to put your schedule pixel on the thank you page and optimize for that essentially. Um, the second funnel is what we call a lead magnet VSL funnel. I did a complete video breakdown on why I think lead magnet VSL funnels work better than a standard VSL funnel. I'd highly recommend you check that out. But just as a quick summary, the biggest problem with the VSL funnel, maybe you're seeing this already if you're running VSL funnel, is nobody trusts you. So your cost per call is already very, very high and your closing percentage is already pretty low. And even if you do get a closed deal or a prospect, they will hound you for case studies, references. Maybe they'll hound you on the price point. They want a payment plan, for example. And so the reason why VSL is very, very difficult to crack is there's literally zero trust built between any of the steps. So it's very, very difficult for you to convince someone to pay you a high ticket retainer using a VSL funnel unless you have the ad spend to see through, or you've already got a pretty big personal brand. So my recommendation is run a lead magnet VSL. If you want a full breakdown on how this works, go watch my previous video. But essentially, you have your ad, it takes you to a lead magnet, and then a calendar page, and then the thank you. Your lead magnet obviously must be really, really valuable. It has to really hit home with your prospects. And what you'll find is once you start slowly building trust, people automatically have way more conviction to actually book a call with you. But with a lead magnet, you also want to make sure that you have your appropriate email and SMS retargeting systems. So strategic emails to slowly build trust between your prospect. So eventually, when you do get a qualified booked call, your close rate should be a lot higher and they shouldn't need to price pinch you on your high ticket offer or your high ticket retainer because you've already built that trust. And I truly think a lead magnet VSL is going to be the future for scaling any AI or marketing agency because it builds strategic trust. You're not immediately asking them for a call, their time, or a sale. You're giving them kind of like different value nuggets before you get to your end KPI. So again, there's a video I made on this that breaks down how a lead magnet works and how you can use it to really scale your agency's revenue in a pretty short period of time. So I would run both side by side if you have the budget because they both pretty much complement each other very, very well. Step two is budget. So this is pretty important. I would recommend that you spend anywhere between $50 to $100 a day per ad set. So we're not going to be doing a CBO budget. We're going to be doing controlled ABO. So at least 50 to 100. The sweet spot is 100 to give Meta enough data to spend, basically. And then per ad set, you should only have 3 to 5 creatives. The reason why is if you have more than 5 creatives, what you'll find is pretty quickly Meta is just going to favor one creative, and that could be based on a cost per click metric or a CPM metric, which isn't really what you're looking for. You're looking for a qualified book call. And basically, all of your budget will then end up going into one creative, and so you haven't spent enough on any of your other assets. So to give all of your creatives a fair shot at spending, I would restrict to only having 3 to 5 creatives per ad set. 3 would be great, but 5, you can get away with. So this is what I would set as the creative limit per ad set. Step 3, retargeting. So I'd start with 2 to 3 ad sets to begin with. The first being a broad based campaign. So essentially, you give Meta the reins. So there's basically there's no targeting. There's no like interest targeting, lookalike targeting. It's literally just broad Advantage Plus, and that's it. The second is retargeting. Now, obviously, if you have the data, I would definitely run a retargeting campaign. That's pretty simple. The third is a must-have. So this is an AI lookalike audience. This is kind of our secret sauce to producing a lot of high-quality calls for our clients. So basically, what you would do is you would go to a lead platform such as ZoomInfo, Apollo, whatever it is. You would then scrape a massive list of your exact ICP. You'd obviously set all of your qualifying criteria. You would then use a platform like Clay, for example, to further enrich that data. So just to get as many data points as you possibly can. And then you take that list that Clay gives you and you upload it as a lookalike audience in Meta. I would do a lookalike audience anywhere from 1% to 10%. And I would have this as again another separate ad set. This works really, really well because it kind of gives Meta a signal already on what type of leads and clients you want in the beginning. So essentially, the quicker you implement a lookalike, the better your pixel will be trained to find the exact clients that you want. And so lookalike audiences are super effective, and I'd highly, highly recommend you have one ad set with just AI-based lookalike audiences. So that's the targeting, pretty straightforward. Step number 4 is metrics. This is really, really important. And I see a lot of agency owners just confuse themselves over the metrics of their overall campaign. So first of all, you should expect anywhere between $100 to $300 cost per call. Now, if you're selling a high ticket service, meaning you charge a retainer of $2,000 to $5,000 a month, then if you do the math, you can absolutely afford to spend $100 to $300 per call. Now, I work with clients who get $50 calls, $30 calls. Yes, your cost per call can be lower, and it might end up being lower, but this, I would say, is what your expectation should be, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to pause a campaign because you're not getting the cost per call you think is appropriate. This is industry average. I mean, this is really what you want to aim for, providing your calls are actually genuinely qualified, right? So anywhere between $100 to $300, you're absolutely golden. You can scale the campaign. So don't panic if you don't get a call after spending $100. It's completely normal. You need to give the ads time and data to spend. Now, in terms of a per lead metric, so if you're running the Lead Magnet VSL, which I highly, highly recommend, then you can expect anywhere between $20 to $50 per qualified lead. Sometimes it's lower, sometimes it's a bit less, but that should be your goal in terms of a qualified lead in the funnel. So this is the metrics that I would look out for. Again, you don't need to have $10 cost per call. I mean, the metric, honestly, to me is irrelevant, because if you're getting $10 calls, but those leads are terrible quality, there's literally no point running ads, right? So I would rather pay a premium if I know the calls are of genuine quality and they actually show up on time and they actually trust me and they can actually afford my high ticket retainer. So this is the cost per call metric that you need to look out for. And it's what your goal, honestly, what your goal should be. Because once you get to these figures, all you do is just scale the ad spend. You don't need to mess about with, optimizing the creative and lowering the call. Just literally spend more. That's it. So these are the overall metrics that I would look out for. Now, when you do launch your ads, obviously this goes without saying, you need to let your ads run for a minimum of 10 days. Like, do not touch them. Don't change the budget. Do not do anything. Let it spend for 10 days, because you need to give Meta a chance to get as much data as possible. Even if you don't get calls in 10 days, that is completely normal. You don't need to panic. So just don't touch them. Just resist the urge on doing anything in your ads manager for a minimum of 10 days. Now, once 10 to 14 days passes, if you don't get any book calls, it doesn't mean the ads didn't work. It just means you weren't good enough. So something in your funnel, your creative, your offer wasn't resonating well enough with your target market. Now, I know things like Meta can play a role and this whole Meta Andromeda update, but 99% of the time, if ads haven't worked for you, it's because you simply weren't good enough, right? Unfortunately, that's the case. But the good news is you can fix it. So the only way to fix it is to test more. That could be more creatives. It could be a different offer variation. It could be a different landing page layout. It is literally all about testing, right? So don't give up if you spend for 2 weeks and don't see any results. It's not the ad platform. It's probably because out of all of these sort of steps, you've missed something. In my experience, it's usually either the offer or the creative. That's what holds most people up, or you just haven't spent enough. And it's as simple as that. And so this is the step-by-step guide that I would follow. It's really simple. You don't need to overcomplicate everything. Run these two funnels side by side, have an appropriate budget set, have 2 to 3 ad sets, broad, AI lookalike, and retargeting if you have the data. Expect to get anywhere between $100 to $300 per call and $20 to $50 per lead, and just let Meta do its thing. Continuously test and test and test until you find a winning campaign. But to be really honest with you, if you're going to be testing anywhere between 6 to 10 creatives, you should get at least 3 to 4 winners out of those if your creative procedure is on point. So it's very, very rare that you'll spend for 10 days and not get calls, because you should have tested enough creators and enough angles to find a winner. So I hope that makes sense. If you want this entire funnel completely built for you, including the lead magnet, including the nurturing sequences, including setters and closers, click the link in the description below. We offer a complete done for you service. We guarantee qualified calls and paying customers, or you basically get a full refund. Enter in your info, see if you qualify. We only work with a select few agencies that actually have the budget to scale properly. But if you do qualify, we will guarantee you revenue and paying customers. So it's completely risk-free. But to be honest, you could probably just take everything on this call and just implement everything yourself. But let me know if that makes sense, and pop in the comments if you have any questions.